All right, strap yourselves in because we are going deep on this one. We're diving into Trump's second inaugural address.
Delivered just moments ago.
Yeah, hot off the presses.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, this speech,
It's a lot.
it's a roller coaster. A second non-consecutive term.
Unprecedented.
I mean, come on. That's something we've just never seen in American history.
And Trump knows it.
Oh, yeah. He's leaning into it.
Absolutely. He's framing this whole thing as a comeback story, you know? A second chance to finish the job, as he puts it, to bring in this new era for America.
He's not shying away from bold statements, that's for sure.
No, not at all.
Right out of the gate.
Yeah.
He declares the start of a golden age, promises a return to national pride and global respect.
Yeah.
It's a pretty stark contrast to the American carnage he described in his 2017 speech.
Definitely.
What do you make of this shift in tone?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? In 2017, I mean, he had to paint this bleak picture to justify that whole Make America Great Again agenda. Now, he's claiming victory, suggesting that, you know, he's already achieved that goal.
Right.
And is ready to take America even higher.
Take it to the next level.
Exactly.
But amidst all this, like, optimism, he also spends a good chunk of the speech outlining a pretty dire picture of a nation facing, you know, like multiple crises.
Right.
You know, a government that's failing its citizens, rampant crime, illegal immigration, a broken healthcare system.
It's a familiar playbook.
Yeah, it's like a laundry list of anxieties.
Exactly. It's about tapping into those deep-seated fears and frustrations that people have.
Right.
And he does it masterfully.
Yeah.
Uses vivid language, specific examples, like, you know, he talks about the hurricane recovery in North Carolina, the fires in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
To paint this picture of incompetence and neglect.
Yeah, it's
classic fear-mongering, but
it's effective.
It is.
And he doesn't just point fingers.
Yes.
Who names names?
He does.
You know, he calls out the radical and corrupt establishment, criminal aliens, and fake news media.
The enemies.
Yes, the villains in his narrative.
By creating these clear enemies, he's able to position himself as the hero, right?
Right.
The only one who can save America from these threats.
Yeah, it's like,
It's a tactic that's as old as politics itself.
Right.
But one that Trump wields with particular skill.
Yeah. And he's not just talking the talk.
No.
He announces a whole slew of executive orders he plans to sign.
Action.
Yeah, targeting everything from immigration and energy to education and government efficiency.
Right.
It's
a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Let's break down a few of these, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so declaring national emergencies at the border and for energy.
Big moves.
Huge. Those are significant. They bypass Congress entirely, giving him sweeping powers to implement his agenda.
And then there's that proposal to designate cartels as terrorist organizations.
Right.
That's a pretty big escalation.
For sure.
With potentially huge implications for our foreign policy and military operations.
Absolutely. It's a bold move and one that's sure to generate a lot of controversy, but it also speaks to his America First philosophy.
Right.
This idea that we need to take decisive action to protect our interests, even if it means going in alone.
He really doubles down on that America First message throughout the whole speech, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about foreign policy.
No.
It's about putting American workers and businesses first.
Right.
Even if it means shaking up global trade agreements or withdrawing from international organizations.
Again, America First.
And he doesn't stop there. He goes on to announce plans to end the Green New Deal, overhaul trade deals, establish a new Department of Government Efficiency, reinstate unvaccinated service members.
Wow.
I mean, it's a whirlwind.
It's a truly ambitious agenda. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
It's also one that's likely to face major legal and logistical challenges.
Right.
The question is, how much of this can he actually achieve?
That's a question we'll be exploring further as we continue our deep dive.
Right.
But one thing is for sure. This speech is a clear signal that Trump is back.
He's back.
And he's not holding anything back.
Not one bit. You know, welcome back to our deep dive. As we dig into this speech, it's striking how Trump manages to weave together these huge pronouncements with very specific actions, often appealing to, you know, emotion.
Oh, totally. He's like a master chess player, right? Making these bold moves to capture everyone's attention while also like strategically setting himself up for the long game.
Exactly. Yeah, he's thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Take, for example, his call to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Oh, come on.
Right.
It's like, what?
On the surface, it seems almost absurd, right?
Yeah, totally. It's like something out of a satirical headline, you know?
You'd think so, but
It's wild.
But if you look closer, it's a brilliant play.
Really?
It taps into this deep-seated desire for American dominance, this yearning to reclaim a perceived loss of global standing.
Right. So it's like less about the Gulf itself.
Exactly.
And more about like the message it sends.
It's symbolic, right?
Yeah.
He's saying, we're back, baby, and we're not afraid to make our mark on the world.
We're here to stay.
Exactly.
It's a power move.
It is. And it's a message that resonates with his base, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Those who feel that America has been taken advantage of, that it's time to assert ourselves on the world stage.
Make America great again.
Yeah,
Again.
right.
And it's not just about reclaiming past glory, right? He also lays out this whole vision for the future.
Yes.
A future where America is once again a beacon of innovation and progress.
Right. He invokes the spirit of the pioneers, the explorers, the builders, you know, the ones who tamed the Wild West and built this nation into a superpower. He calls for a renewed sense of ambition, this willingness to push boundaries and achieve the impossible.
Right. And then he drops those concrete examples like
Oh, yeah.
reclaiming the Panama Canal.
That one's a doozy.
Right. Like, wow. Bold, audacious.
It raised my eyebrows, that's for sure.
It's sure to ruffle some feathers.
Definitely. But again, it speaks to that core message. America first. You know, he's suggesting we shouldn't be afraid to flex our muscles, to take what we believe is rightfully ours, even if it, you know, causes some international tension.
Right. So it's this message that's both like exhilarating and a little unsettling, right?
I think so.
Like on the one hand, it taps into this deep-seated sense of American exceptionalism. But on the other hand, it raises concerns about like potential overreach in conflict.
Right. You have to wonder, how far is too far?
Yeah, exactly. It's a tightrope he's walking for sure.
It is appealing to this desire for greatness while also, you know, stoking those fears and grievances.
Right. It's a potent mix.
Very potent.
And one that's proven effective in the past. But will it work again in 2025? That's the question.
That is the question.
That remains to be seen.
We'll have to wait and see how this all plays out.
Right. We still got a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
We'll continue our deep dive in the final part.
Sure,
But
exactly.
for now, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've heard so far.
Okay.
What stood out to you most in this part of the speech?
You know, for me, it's the way he manages to connect these grand narratives of American dominance with very specific policy proposals.
Oh, interesting.
It's a masterclass in political rhetoric.
Yeah. It's like he's speaking on multiple levels at the same time.
Exactly.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive. I mean, we've really been through it all with this speech. You know, the ambition, the fear, this whole golden age thing, reclaiming the Panama Canal. Like,
it's been quite the journey, hasn't it? And as we wrap things up, I think it's really important that we zoom out and consider the impact of this speech, not just on policy, but on the American psyche, you know?
You know, what really struck me was how much he focused on this idea of a divided America. He talks about the forgotten men and women, those he claims were ignored by the establishment.
Right. He's a master of identifying those fault lines in society, right, and then using them to his advantage.
Yeah.
Creating this us versus them dynamic.
Yeah.
Pitting his supporters against those he deems the enemy.
He even directly calls out his political opponents.
Oh, yeah.
Accusing them of trying to silence and censor him and his followers.
It's a powerful tactic, you know?
It is.
By portraying himself as the victim, he's able to rally his base and delegitimize any criticism or opposition. It's a dangerous game to play, but it's one that's proven effective for him time and again.
It's his trademark move almost, you know.
Almost, yeah.
But amidst all this, division and the blame, he also tries to strike a chord of unity.
Right.
He talks about the need to come together as Americans, to put aside our differences and work towards this common goal.
Classic rhetorical move, right? Appealing to a desire for unity and patriotism.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to have it both ways.
He is. But the question is, can he actually bridge the divides he's helped to create? You know?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
His vision for America, it's bold, it's ambitious, and it's undeniably appealing to some. It's also deeply divisive.
Yeah.
And raises some serious concerns about where the country is headed.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag for sure. And I think that's really the legacy of this speech. It's a moment that captures those complex, often contradictory currents of American politics in 2025.
Yeah.
This nation grappling with its identity, its role in the world, and its own internal divisions.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
So where do we go from here? Like, what happens next?
Well, that's up to each of us to decide, really. This speech is a call to action, a challenge to, engage in the political process
Fair.
and shape the future we want to see.
It's a reminder that democracy is not a spectator sport. We all have a role to play in this.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to encourage everyone listening.
Yeah.
Keep thinking about these issues we've talked about. Talk to your friends, your family, your colleagues. Stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay curious. Because the future of America, it depends on it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.